Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Ruff and Tumble.
Okay.
But before we get rough and tumbly, let's talk about the Amiga news. What's going on in Amiga news? Actually, before we get into Amiga news, we got feedback. Sorry, I didn't mean to start your engine too early. So, we did get some new iTunes reviews in, Aaron.
Uh-oh.
You know, iTunes reviews are the lifeblood of the podcast community, even for those that still do it the old-fashioned way by downloading the MP3. So many people discover us through iTunes, so if you leave us a review, we really appreciate it, including this guy called Dean Hawker.
Okay, Dean Hawker.
Dean Hawker. He's from the UK. He says, having found these guys just before Christmas, I've been totally addicted and have listened to almost 100 episodes since.
Holy moly.
Aaron and Boat make great hosts and are extremely funny. Thank you, Dean Hawker.
He must be talking about me, Boat.
That's probably true. Our second one is, this is called, and he titled that review, The Best Retro Gaming Podcast.
Oh, please.
So maybe we should put that on our...
Dean.
On our moniker.
The check's in the mail, brother.
And Digi999 says, essential listening for any Amiga fan. Absolutely superb podcast that not only gives an American view of the Amiga scene, but is presented by two of the most passionate Amiga owners you have ever heard. Up-to-date news, game reviews, great sense of humor. It's essential weekly listening. Thank you, Digi999. That's very kind of you.
Do you consider yourself passionate?
I'm so passionate.
Are you?
I'm a passionate man, Aaron.
That's kind of creepy.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And we got one more piece of feedback on our Wing Commander episode.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear
we
that.
got a message on YouTube from none other than Mark Knight himself. He says, hey guys, just to clear up your comments and questions on the music, I'd argue that the music sounds more like the LAPC1 version of the PC music. We were talking about how I thought it sounded kind of like ad-lib.
No, I thought I said that.
Well,
we both did.
We both did. Yeah. To me, any kind of early PC music, I just say ad-lib because I don't know what things are called. Mm-hmm. So he says the LAPC, as you may remember, was a sound card by Roland based on their MT32 synthesizer module. So I was not aware of that, but I'm glad to know it. Mark Knight, as we know, is the composer of the Wing Commander music. So,
yeah, that was awesome. When you told me that, I was like, holy mackerel. It's neat that someone that helped make that listen to our show and comment on it. Oh, I just can't believe it.
Yeah, he did the music for the Amiga version.
I knew Roland did have a sound chip. Yamaha also had some. And when he wrote that, I thought about it. It does sound synthy. It does sound MIDI a little bit. And I believe he went on to talk about how the limitations that they had to work with to put the music on the Amiga. It's a real good. It was a very informative little note he left on the thing, and we appreciate it. But yeah. I was happy. I was starstruck briefly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a sucker for that mode.
All right, Aaron. Now it's time to start the Amiga news.
Are you sure?
engine.
Do I need to reach for the Galvatron 5000?
Reach for it. Reach for it.
All right. The Amiga news.
Amiga.
Are you gonna have the robot talk again? Whatever.
No, I'll just keep that as a sample.
That.
Yeah.
That's my snidely guy that works at a bank. You know that guy. Oh, you'll deposit him. That's what he says. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. So I'm becoming you. It's scary. This sounds just like one of your bits right here. Just this random nonsense. So Chris Folds, the legend, a good and dear friend, member of the Brain Trust, has posted a little ditty here about a new low-profile 8 meg fast RAM upgrade module. Now this is an interesting little gimmick on this one. This one fits in the 68,000 socket. And the chipsets on top. They do the craziest stuff with hardware I've ever seen.
Do you have to take out your original processor?
Well, you put it in. You put the board in there, and you put your chip on top of the thing.
Oh.
It's so piggyback special.
Okay.
8 megs. All right, that's a good deal. By the way, this came off of Amiga Love. We love Amiga Love. Especially right after Valentine's Day, we really love them. Yeah. And there it is. It's a little thing there. It sits on top. See, it's a little piggyback.
Oh wow! How cool!
Yeah, and it's awful clever.
Yeah.
That they whoever they are, they've always got a gimmick, an angle.
That seems like the way, if you're going to add RAM in a way that you don't have to, destroy anything in your case or anything like that, or this just seems like a very cool way. Hopefully they will do this. Wouldn't it be great if you could add, an accelerator that was that small and just put it right on top of your CPU?
They do those. They have those, sure. In fact, here's a little sidebar. By the way, this works in the Amiga 1000, so you can have an Amiga 1000 with eight big megs, which would be It'd be awesome. Because the Amiga 1000 adding memory is sort of a hassle. They make this gimmick for the 600. Now, the 600, and stupid me, the Huckster reminded me of my own stupidity of Blue was. Because I was like, well, this is working the 600. Well, the Amiga 600 is a different style processor. And the Amiga's 600's processor is sort of like soldered in, right? So they make this gimmick. It's an accelerator. It's also a bunch of extra memory. And it literally, you smash it on top of your processor. It's got a socket. It's in reverse. And the socket goes down on top of the chip that's on your board.
So they totally do make that.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
I always picture accelerators being like the Vampire, where it's like the size of the motherboard of the computer you're putting it on.
Trust me, we could sit here, we could do a whole show on Amiga hardware, and we'd probably do a bad job. But there are so many crazy styles and sidecars, and it's crazy. Amiga is one of the wackiest mad scientist machine of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of one. I mean, the Raspberry Pi is like the modern equivalent. Just people just doing crazy stuff to it. It's like, I want to use this to do, God knows what. Anyway, wacky. So that was a good one. And hey, I hear the price is going to be right on that thing too, so not too bad, eh? We should also talk about this crazy joystick here, Boat. The Procon CD32 third-party gamepad for the Amiga CD32. It looks, well, let's be honest here. This is a Super Nintendo controller with a new admittedly cool-looking exterior. It's black. It says it's got the Amiga CD32 logo on it. I don't know if these are out. I don't know what they're going to go for. I don't think the article says if they're out or what they're going to go for. I think they're something that's in training.
So the guy that is I clicked on the link to EAB, and he says that he wants to sell them as assembled in his kits. So, but I don't see. I
don't think they're at market yet, or I mean, they're just apparently it's being made by some guy.
Right.
You see a lot of that on the forums.
Yeah.
It's like some guy. I think that 8 meg 68,000. So I think it's another some guy. It's not like super.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. So the full kit is 27 euros. You can get one pre-assembled and tested for 38 euros.
That's not bad.
No.
That's what is it, about $50?
Yeah. When you consider that these are custom PCBs, this isn't some hack job.
Now I will say this, and this is the first thing I thought of. I really need to get around to doing this review. I ordered these the Amiga to Super Nintendo adapter, all right, which does everything this does and lets you use it. But I mean, the price is not a whole lot different after shipping. So it sort of depends on what you're after, and it depends on how. I mean, having seen this, we don't know how it's going to feel. I mean, one thing with the cable, you know what you're getting with a Super Nintendo stick.
It's a known quantity,
and then you also have the ability to do specialized stuff, which this will have that as well, where you can have reassign up for jump and stuff like that. So this might be a good deal. It does look awesome.
I'm a sucker for aesthetics, and having something that actually matches the color scheme of the CD32 is really cool.
Yeah. And hopefully, I'm assuming he'll have a case that's probably a more Amiga non-CD32 like at some point in the future. Speaking of cases, what a lead in, eh? Guess what? Just when you thought they were all done, it looks like on the horizon there could be a new Amiga 500 case Kickstarter. Our good and dear friends at Indie Retro News broke the story here, and having bought Amiga 500 case, which I then butchered, we know that these are in desperate need, and so if they're going to put something up, it's not the worst idea. These are the same people that did the 1200 cases, and I believe they are. I don't know if they ever shipped those key
keycaps.
I don't know if there's this particular outfit. I'm not sure they ever released this or not. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if they ever got around to it or not. So, hey, and more Amiga cases. That's great. Again, having this produced, it's got to cost some bucks. We've talked about molds, and
injection molding, and things like that.
It's crazy time. So our next story, new game. All right. So this one I just saw today. And I've never heard of this. They said it originally came out in 2014, but there was some kind of marketing thing or something happened with the company where I don't know if they didn't ship very many or maybe they didn't ship any. It's a new game called The Secret of Middle City, a point-and-click adventure, and it's out for Morph OS, Mac, and the Amiga. And it's just exactly what it says it is. It's a point-and-click adventure.
I love the first bullet point is Italian humor and style.
Hey,
I don't know what Italian
are there
humor
any
is.
funnier
but-
people than the Italians? I don't think so. They're pretty funny. It looks okay. I had a quick look at it. I mean, if you like point and click, I mean, it's not like it's not going to blow the world up, but it looks pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
really, graphics are only a small part of that. Most of it's the humor and stuff. It looks interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this really looks like. I played a lot of games when I was more on the Mac side that looked like this. But again, like you said, the graphics are sort of secondary to the story and the style and the humor and stuff.
Right. So it might be good. I didn't. Did you catch a price on that when you were looking it up? I didn't see anything.
€15.
Not bad.
It's available actually for the Amiga, Mac, Windows, and Morph OS.
So that's what is that? About $20, $25, something like that.
Not bad.
It's hard to get
Not
that
bad.
exchange down. So, lastly, and this is one of your classic mixed bag stories here. Because when I saw it, I got real excited, and then I got less excited. So, there's two new classic DOS games have been ported over to the Amiga, the AGA Amiga. And if you're a PC guy, you remember these. Blake Stone's Aliens of Gold and Planet Strike. These are two classic DOS games that I remember from the DOS days. And I use classic. I mean, they're okay. I don't think of, if you think about classic DOS, these are the real sort of. I'm trying to say this diplomatically. Like Commander Keen. You ever played Commander Keen? That is considered a classic DOS title. Okay, if you, I don't. I mean, it's okay, but I mean, I don't think it stands up too well with the Amiga stuff. But you know.
So this is as I pull it up here. This is a. It's like Wolfenstein.
It is. But I mean, would you call this a classic? I mean, have you ever heard of this game?
Well, classic is sort of a relative term. No.
Okay. Now, I've heard of it, but I mean, if you consider the other things that were in this genre, now you're looking at this, you're probably like, "Holy smokes, this is coming to the Amiga. We're getting the Doom clone." Well, there's a but, and the but is you have to have a 68040 30 megahertz proc to get this bad boy up and running. So we're not going to be putting this on the Amiga 600, for example. Of course, it needs AGA as well. It requires also 4 megs fast memory, and again, you need a 6830. So you're going to have something pretty heady there. And those are your minimum requirements. It gets a little more wackadoo after that, but still kind of neat. Hey, it doesn't require Vampire, so you know you got that going for you. So that's the long and short of that. Now let's get to the site stuff, Bo. Let me just rewind the Gambletron here. So right out of the gates, let's talk about the new article from the Dreamcatcher. He's back. I haven't got a chance to look at this one yet, but he looks at Safari Guns and its sequel, Wild Guns. Have you had a look at this yet?
No.
I don't even know if I've even heard of these games before. So this looks pretty good. I will say, just looking at the graphics here, this looks cool. I mean, it looks like my kind of game.
I want to say, it wasn't Wild Guns? Wasn't that a light gun game? Yeah, this is. So this is like a point and click, like it's a first person, like Operation Wolf style thing. How weird.
Yeah, I definitely had to check this out. It
Yeah.
looks interesting. And of course, Dreamcatcher, it looks like he goes to his usual lengths. I want to give Dreamcatcher the high sign, by the way. When I was doing research for this week's main event, what should pop up but Dreamcatcher's article, and it's great. And he found tons of stuff that I didn't know about, and so I borrowed from it heavily, I might add. So if you want to, I'm telling you, we always have a featured article from DK every week, or at least one. Sometimes he does two. But you go back, I mean, his stuff is gold, and I don't know where he digs some of this information.
Well, he talks to the people directly.
Well, I
He
mean,
sends them
it's
an email.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and he gets the skinny.
He's got connections with almost everybody in the Amiga scene.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and of course he's still got his. I believe his charity book is still available, and that's free. You know, and just make a donation, and that's a unbelievable tome of Dreamcatcher knowledge. It's all gold. There's never been anything he did that wasn't top shelf. I don't remember. He's never had a misstep.
No.
So it's always good. So moving on, another of our good and dear friend Hasifa. We love him.
We love him. He's here in the chat now.
He's here in the chat, and he put together quite a reference. I've already used this thing multiple times. The first thing I did was check to see, it's like, what have we done that's like this? When did we take, I knew we'd had a quick look at this during the thing. I had to go back and use it to do some research, but he's put together an episode reference guide. It is on everythingamiga.com, and it is a handy tool that basically tells you every show we did, has a list of every show we did, has a list of every game we covered on that show, including shows where we did multiple games.
Right.
And it's handy and dandy. But have you had a chance to use this thing yet?
It's amazing. I love having, it's so nice to have everything right there at your fingertips. So
right,
if I want to see Banshee, what's that? Just click on it.
Yeah,
Bam.
and it beams right over.
Right.
And it's even got the times, which is cool. I went down to see what our shortest show was. We had a show that was like 22 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like TV Sports or something like that.
It was super duper short. I was like, man, we've gone for, and then there's a couple. Of course, we had the marathon where we went 12 hours, but we've had shows that go hour and 40 minutes or so. Not counting the Christmas shows, all the crazy shows where you add extra time. So it's a great resource, and we really appreciate it. And I believe he said he's going to end up kind of updating as we go, which would be kind of cool. Did you have any? Did you put any videos up this week? Amiga related videos?
Boy, I don't think I did. I think that this week I was all quiet on the video front, but I did play a whole lot of Ruff and Tumble though.
Yeah,
so.
The only video I had put up this week, I've been going through some work issues this week, so I've not been around that much. But I did put up a video for our sister show, ARG Presents. I did a video on what was that?
That was a rifle.
Boat's got a war going off next door.
Well, I live in a secluded area, away from the city.
What did I put a video up on this week?
Cosmic Arc.
Cosmic Arc. That's right. For our show, I'm losing my mind. And just a little playthrough of that for our sister show. And we should probably mention that while we're talking about it. We do ARG Presents. It drops every Wednesday, and so far we had a lot of fun with it. We've had some good times. It's been pretty well received, I think, and it's kind of neat that I often, as we're talking about it or doing the show, we often reference back to the Amiga. So it's just sort of now that's sort of our foundation, and there's a lot of times where things play back and forth. It's actually quite amazing the things that happen. We just recently played a game that reminded us very much of Moonstone, and having played it before, it's neat. There's a weird synergy to it that I enjoyed. You got anything else on the news front?
Well, we have one more piece of mail that you received in the physical mail.
Absolutely. I want to get to that before we get to the game. So I got an email a while back, and I mentioned this from our good buddy, the Slow Norris, and he offered to get me goodies for the 600, and I said, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Well, he already sent me a bracket. SD card for a compact flash card in it. He had sent me several things, and then he went and got me a memory expansion for the 600, which was awful nice. I mean, I ordered it from Amiga Kit, and by the way, I thought this was cool. It comes with I've already been using this, but now I've got a registered copy of Reload Kick, which is the thing you can use to boot to 1.3. But man, awful nice of Slow to send this over. It's weird. I'm not used to getting gifts like that. I always feel weird about it, man.
I'm used to getting GIFs myself.
Well, I know. You're such a goofball. But this is just your standard memory expansion for the 600.
That looks super cool, though.
Yeah, and it's got expansion. It's got some expansion stuff for like some other secondary stuff. But pretty neat. And there's a little expansion thing here as well. Sort of, I mean, we really appreciate it. I wanted to mention on the show, I'm always, and we've talked about this. This is going to sound like the biggest load of mush. I'm always surprised that people just are so nice, and especially because we're a couple goofballs, and they are very kind to us, and we do appreciate it. So thank you, Slow, for the goodie, and thanks Gary for the machine, and thanks to everybody that's sent us software and
candy,
food and Brutal Barracuda and Folds, all these guys that have sent us goodies over the years, and of course
Bebke,
and Bebke, of course. Gosh, it's funny. I just watched his video. He sent us a nice. He sent us a thing from he showed me his house and stuff, which is nice. And then our buddy I can't remember, but I'm going to lose people out. I'm going to feel bad. But I mean, everyone that sent us stuff, or even if you just thought about it, hey, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We didn't expect to get anything. That was never an angle we even thought that would ever happen. And as we've mentioned before, everyone in the Amiga family is very nice, and they're very kind, and they're very forgiving, and they're also very tolerant of our various
tomfoolery,
stupid acts that we perpetrate on a weekly basis.
Is it time to jump in?
I think it's time
to the world of Ruff and Tumble.
I think it's time, Bo.
All right, let's do it.
I'll lead the dance here, if I may. So, this week we had a look at a game called Ruff and Tumble. The full title: Ruff and Tumble in the Fantasy Forest, which that long title, but it's for a little guy. So this came out in '94, so a later release, and you can tell it came on 2 discs. And the developer of this was an outfit called Wunderkind, spell it in the German. As far as I can tell, they've never done anything else. I couldn't find anything at all. I couldn't find any reference to them. I'm not sure they were even a real company. I don't know if they were just... because the guys that worked on it did other stuff, but... that was it. And it was published by Renegade. Now, Renegade we've come across multiple times. Amongst their many titles were the Sensible Soccers. They published those. Gods, Fire and Ice, Elf Mania, Chaos Engine, Speedball 2. Renegade's been involved in a lot of stuff. The gimmick in this game, also, last week when I said, hey, we're doing Ruff and Tumble, that'll be great, we'll get some 2-player action going. No, that was wrong. There's not... There's no 2. I was sure this had 2 players.
Well, it's a little misleading because it's something and something else. Right. So it's like you play Ruff, I'll play Tumble. Let's do it.
I remember when we played this on the brief time we played this on the charity show, right? I remember saying, wow, we should get another joystick and really go to work on this. And I think you were like, yeah, that'll be great. And we're stupid. And of course, you did a playthrough once where you had the name wrong. And then I had trouble with the name over and over. I kept wanting to call it Ruff and Ready. And there's another game called that.
Yep.
So it's like drove you nuts. So the guys that worked on this, there's only a few guys that really worked that did the most of the heavy lifting on it. The artist. And the coder, I should say, was a guy named Jason Perkins. Now, he did Time Machine on the Amiga, but he's also responsible for Thing on a Spring, Monty on the Run, and Apocalypse, which those are pretty popular games. Thing on a Spring, I've never played it, but I've heard about it. A lot of people talk about it. The graphics were done by a fellow named Robin Levy. He did Last Ninja 3, Myth, and Putty. And the music was done by a fellow who actually has done quite a bit of stuff named Jason Page. He's done Fire and Ice, which we keep hearing about. That's another we've got to pick up. Flight of the Amazon Queen, which we've heard a lot about that one. Iron Man Stewart. We love that game, the arcade version anyway. And he did the Sensible Soccers, Iridium. He did a bunch of stuff. So this is a platformer. It runs on the ECS and the OCS, so it's good to go. It looks great for a game that will work on that original hardware. It's another game where you got some guys that got together that knew what they were doing, and they squeezed every molecule they could out of the available hardware. Again, this is running on something that was effectively released in '85, and so it for that time period, it looks remarkable in my opinion. So it's a platforming game where you play a guy named Ruff Rogers. You're a little kid, and the gimmick on this is you're playing at a park, and your marble is going to like a rabbit hole, and you go down and get them, and basically you go in another world, and the guy in the world challenges you to come stop him effectively, and you're going around trying to gather up your marbles. So effectively, you've lost your marbles. Get it?
I get it.
Yeah. Come on, you're not laughing, Bud. Come on, man. So this game is split into 16 levels. And they're split, basically, there are 4 levels that each have 4 stages. Okay. And there's a boss, all right? The guy you play is Ruff. He's a little kid, and he looks kind of cute. And then he has a massive death gun that he carries around. And has no qualms about killing. So really, most of what you're killing in this are like these metal-headed robots. So... You have multiple like heart containers, sort of like a Addams Family, right? I believe that's how they did it. Where you can I think you can get 1 or 2 more as the game goes on. I'm not 100%. I think you can get up to it's at 5. You can
I think 5.
I never got that many. I can tell you that right now. This game's interesting in a lot of ways. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's a game where you run and gun, all right? It is, and there are collectibles out the yin yang. It's your standard Amiga fare. This game is if you ever asked yourself what would happen if an excellent gaming house combined Turrican and Zool, and with a little Super Frog in there, this is sort of what you would get. You'll recall that in Zool, you have to have a certain amount of items collected before the door unlocks, right? Mm-hmm. This game is exactly like that with a twist. So you have 3 different colored marbles that you have to collect. And you have a set amount of these. At the top, it's listed. They're the 3 colors, and above them there will be numbers. And you have to collect the whatever the number is of those marbles to open the escape. So even if you come right up to the exit, if you don't have enough marbles, it just stays shut. You're boned. Now, there's no time limit, so you can, and the enemies don't respond. So you can pretty much bebop around, forever looking for these marbles. And then when you get enough marbles, the little number above them will count down until it says okay. Then you're ready to go.
Which is the right way to go, by the way. This game it fixes so many of the things that are wrong with so many other platformers. Like if you're going to make something that encourages exploration, don't hamper that by having a time limit. If you want to have a certain number of collectibles before you're allowed to go on, that's fine. Let somebody have the time to explore the stage and get what they need.
I have to agree with you on that. And it makes you, you have no choice but to go through these levels in their entirety. They're large levels, by the way. And you have to, and the way this game has a lot more. When I said this was like if Turrican and Zool had a kid, also one thing to consider is that unlike those 2 games, which I know Turrican 2 is particularly, people love it, but one of the problems I had with it was just getting lost. The guys that put this together did a good job, and I'll give them credit where credit's due, of putting the levels together in a way that you need to explore them all, but it doesn't get super duper repetitive going over this. It can be if you miss what you're after. But
you never run into a situation like you do in, say, Lionheart, where you work your way up, and this is a completely fair criticism. You work your way up this ladder of different platforms, and then you get knocked off by an enemy, and you have to start negotiating your way back up again. That doesn't happen that much in this game.
Well, although you can't just not get knocked off and die, which that does happen. Mm-hmm. One thing about this game that differentiates it from a lot of other games, and this is another good programming trick, one of the problems that a lot of these games had are blind jumps. Mm-hmm. And there was actually, they had that in mind when they made the game, and they actually made it to where that doesn't happen. The screen intelligently scrolls downward in a position where you're going to need to jump. So you don't have to jump down into a hole and hope, I hope there's not a spear down there. You will know.
Yeah.
That's a big plus.
I'm going to hold off on my thoughts for a while.
So, as I mentioned, you go through the game, and you're collecting these marbles. That's not all there is to collect. There's plenty of other stuff, including stuff to jack up your gun. Right, your gun's pretty basic at first. You can get lasers, you can get flamethrowers, you can get missiles. There's all sorts of stuff you can pick up to enhance your gun. And you're going to need a lot of that stuff because the bad guys in this are actually, even the basic ones are kind of tough. They're all sort of plays on the theme of these kind of robots. Mm-hmm. The first level, for example, you've got robots that have looks like elephant guns or something, and they're wearing like World War I helmets, like British World War I helmets.
Doughboy helmets.
Yeah. I should mention that again, you've got 4 levels, and so the first level, which you start off on, is a forest level. Again, the bad guys in this are all cute. The good guys cute. It's a cute game for something as violent as it is. And the bad guys have these and what it reminded me of was sort of like Gauntlet. I don't know if it's a close, the bad guy generator.
They're like spawning areas.
And you basically, when you come across with these things, you just sit there and blow the bad guys away until they just stop producing bad guys. So, which is exactly like Gauntlet. That was an interesting twist. At least that's one way there's no more bad guys coming.
Right.
Because there's a little light on these things, and when it goes off, that means that they're out of bad guys. The bees, there are bees that come out on stage 3. One thing you're going to learn is in this game is that these different, if there are 4 different main stages, each has the 4 levels, and in each stage, the bad guys are going to be pretty much all the same with a few added as you go, right? So on the first level, you're going to see these the metal soldiers, and with the whole time, the little flying guys, there's these little metal guys that have like a helicopter blade on them. You're going to see those the whole time. But they add a few things. So on the third level, I think it is, they add bees. These bees drove me nuts. I don't know if you had any luck with them. I hated them. They killed me. That always used to drive me nuts.
I found that I did better just avoiding them, just running away, than trying to kill them.
Yeah, if you try to actually go after them, they will get you. Stage 1 ends with what I consider the coolest end boss in the whole game, frankly, which was this mechanical owl. Did you get that far?
Well, I saw it on a playthrough.
I
didn't get that far.
I got that far.
Really?
And that was me.
I would love, and I just didn't find one, to find a version with the trainer that I could just turn on infinite lives, because I would love to explore and play through this whole game.
I just went and got all. This game uses save codes, a la the consoles, and so I just went and got all the codes, and so trust me when I tell you, I couldn't get past the first part of the next area, but I did get past the owl, and then the bad guy. At least this particular guy wasn't that tough. I knocked him out pretty quick, but he was cool looking. I will say that. But one thing that I will say as a criticism is, by the time you get through the fourth level of this, you're kind of tired of seeing the same batch of guys. I mean, that, like they add in some different wrinkles to it, but you sort of end up seeing the same guys, over and over. The second level is real tricky, and it's the underground area, like the mines, basically. And so this level, some surfaces are slippery, and there's also spiders down here, bats, all the crap you hate that are in mine.
Yeah.
But one thing this whole level has water. Now your guy can just go right in and swim around. He doesn't breathe, I guess. But I don't know what it is about water levels, man. They're always super duper tough. There's a lot of cool stuff on this level visually. They do a good job with depth down there, like shadowing stuff to be in the background. I mean, all the levels have it. There's a certain amount of parallax or multiple levels, but I mean, they do. I thought it's not Shadow of the Beast good in terms of the way they did that, but I mean, graphically, it's probably a lot better in some ways.
Not even close.
Oh, please, come on.
Shadow of the Beast. You're not even going to sit here and tell me that Shadow of the Beast looks better than this game in any way.
Yeah, I think they did a better job in the caverns. It's a different type of level. I mean, this is cartoony. It's a different type of.
Shadow of the Beast is crap.
Well, oh man, I'm not going to go down that road with you, Boat. Something else they had that was neat, and this kind of after the second level, you see this all throughout the game. There are these, and I love the way they did it. It's got a lot of style and panache. It's when they have these ladders that when you shoot them, they basically kind of shoot up and they kind of rotate out. And you can climb, and they look really cool.
Yeah, I love that.
I thought that was kind of a neat effect. They add in another callback to Lionheart. They add in destructible walls down there, and when you're in those levels, and so there's, in fact, I think it's the second.
I'm sure that was what they were thinking of when they programmed it. Let's call back to Lionheart, boys. Let's put in the destructible walls. No other game has that.
That's what it reminded me of, because the Lionheart's got that. But I mean, it's hidden.
Super Frog's got that too.
Hidden in these walls were like, sometimes there'd be stuff place you had to go. Sometimes there'd be money. Sometimes there'd be whatever. But I thought that was interesting. Kind of a gimmick. And then on the boss of that stage is a giant. How would you describe this guy? Like a robotic snail with a fang?
That sounds pretty good.
I mean, I don't know. It's just some kind of weird thing. And I didn't get that far, but he didn't seem that tough to me. So there's that. And then the next level is a factory level. I didn't really get into this level that much. I mean, I played it, but I didn't think they were as cool looking. It was okay. Don't get me wrong. But man, super tough. A lot of these levels have, this is when they start with the real tough rotating platforms, that shtick a la Mario. I mean, but what they do in this that's a real brutal is they'll add like another rotating part that's like a mace.
Yeah, and it can just get right into you, yeah.
And of course you've got, enemies galore. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. Sometimes there's lightning shooting down from the ceiling. But one thing about the factory level is it's sort of all the level. It's the most same of all the little sub levels. They're all sort of the same. The last guy in this is sort of this like kind of a UFO that looks sort of like a flying helmet. I guess it's again. I thought he was pretty lame. After the owl, the bad guys get kind of boring. And then the last level is the Destink's castle, the bad guy's castle. It looks good. I liked it. It's very Godsy looking to me. The graphics in that area, it looks a lot like Gods to me, which that's not a bad thing. In that one, a lot of bad guys look like knights. There's spiked walls. There's tons and tons of rats. I don't know how anybody could get past this stuff. I'll be honest with you. I was getting smashed. I mean, quick. As soon as I get on the level, I'd get mauled. These little robot wizards that sort of teleport in. They throw these magical balls at you. That was a pain in the butt. And then the bad guy on this thing is a giant. It was just the main bad guy. It's a guy in a big helicopter. Did you see this?
Kind of like Robotnik.
It's not. This is pretty generic looking. I mean, the bosses in this are sort of underwhelming to me. And you just kind of knock him out. Wham, bam, Bob's your uncle. And then at the end of the game, which of course I didn't get this far, but I watched a guy get there. It just simply says like game over, and it shows your guy giving like the thumbs up. So I mean, it's the most disappointing ending I've seen, and we've seen some bad ones, but in this one, just like it literally just pops.
Is
up.
Is it worse than the Jim Power and Mutant Planet ending?
Yes, because Jim Power at least had the chick.
Yeah, the bewildered chick.
The chick picture. She's just like, oh god, I gotta go with this guy. This had nothing. It had Ruff going like, meh. You know, it's like, that's not that good. You know, so, It didn't do it. Before I drone on and on, your thoughts on some of this stuff?
This is probably the best game of this is the best sort of run and gun game I've played on the Amiga. It's the only game that I've played that I feel like really controls as well as a console game. It doesn't have any of that stiffness or weirdness that so many Amiga run and gun titles have. The way that the camera moves to show you where you're going. This is like programming 101 on a console platformer, but the Amiga, so many Amiga games don't do that and make you jump into the ether. The graphics are fantastic. I mean, this wouldn't look out of place on a Neo Geo. The gun, when you're firing the gun, the different upgrades of the gun, it looks awesome, and you really feel powerful. With each upgrade that you get, you slice through those enemies like butter, and it just feels so good. I was very impressed with this game. My main criticism, just like you said, is the lack of variety in the enemies. I wish that they would have made, just different non-robotic enemies, if they would have just spiced things up a little bit there. But I have very few negative things to say about this game.
Now, before I speak, I want you to promise not to get mad.
I'm already getting ready to flip the table.
Don't flip
whatever
the table.
You say.
Now, don't get me wrong. First of all, I agree with a lot of what you said. This game clearly was programmed by people that not only knew what they were doing, but had a knack for level design. There's some of the things you even have inertia that you can get knocked back a little bit, which is that's something that's above and beyond. I like a lot of the things about it. That said, I don't think it's quite on the Neo Geo level. It's somewhere, to me, this is somewhere maybe like a TurboGrafx CD type game. I think that's probably closer to what you'd be looking at in terms of the way it looks. It's really hard. It's another one of these games that's really hard to play. I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed playing something like. I hate to say it, but if it was me, I would play Lionheart before this, or I would also play like Addams Family, where I felt like I had a better shot at this. Some of this is just because I'm not good at this sort of gun game, so I'm not criticizing the game for that. I enjoy games that are easier. This game's really tough. The robotic guys do get irritating after a while. And I wish they had put some variety in. That does let the game down. So don't get me wrong, a lot of games do it. Right? The bosses were not that creative. I wish they would put a little more thought into it. And from what I read, there had been actually 24 levels planned, and then they didn't make them. I think these guys realized that they were boned. They had planned to release this on multiple systems. It didn't happen. This is an Amiga only title, and I would wager that would explain some of the shortcomings. And we've talked about this with other games where they're like the bottom's dropping out of the Amiga, and we're going to have to get out now and try to make some money on this thing. And this being a late release, and again, this company never did anything else. This screams like that's exactly what happened. They probably ran out of time. They had more grandiose plans than what happened. All that said, it's definitely a fun title. It's definitely one of the top titles on the Amiga. And this, I can't think of one that's a whole lot better. You know, I mean, if you're going to classify this with like the Turk and twos and stuff like that, I mean, I think it can sit fairly comfortably with them in a lot of ways. I'm not a huge fan of the title character, to be honest with you. Again, he's not as annoying as the caveman jerk character.
You've just got a thing against title characters. I don't think we've ever played a game that you like the title character except for Lame-O Lionheart.
Oh, how dare you! I like Gomez. He was cool. And I like a lot of title characters. I guess the cutesy genre is not necessarily my bag.
It is kind of a weird juxtaposition to have this like little kid with a huge death gun, as you said. It is kind of strange.
This is another one of those movies. This is just like your typical. This would be perfect for a console. There's no doubt about it. It's very console-y in a way, but there's still plenty of Amiga in it. You know, there's too much stuff to collect. Again, how many times have we said that? It just.
Yeah, that is.
We need all these marbles plus all this other stuff that makes the screen explode. There's all this crazy stuff. You can't tell what you're getting a lot of times. You know.
I think that's fair.
You know, and so I had that problem with it. Even the graphic artist was interviewed and said, "Listen, the game is reasonably plotless." and it's all
sell it, baby.
Well, I mean, it has no. The plot is go fight the bad guy. That's the plot. I mean, I'm not saying all these games have to have a plot, but I mean, a token effort.
At least they tied in the collectibles with the story. I mean, Zool didn't even do that. It's like, here's a whole bunch of candy. Now,
let's be fair. This is better than Zool.
Absolutely.
And better than Zool 2. And better than Super Frog. Yeah. I don't even put those games in this. I mean, this game is absolutely in the upper plateau of Amiga titles of this type.
Yeah, and really, I mean, it's really unfair to compare it to a game like Addams Family or Lionheart. This is really the only thing that you can really compare this to. I think that we've played so far is Turrican, where it's a really combat-heavy, platforming game.
Right. The fact that this thing has a password system is another cheap. Way of knowing that this probably was destined to go on something besides the Amiga. I think that was. I mean, I don't know why else you would use a password system on the Amiga. It doesn't really make that much sense. The fact that this shipped on 2 discs is pretty astounding for the amount of content it has, which that also could have played into why they didn't include more an ending or more, tons more music or tons more, video or anything like that, or an opening of any sort.
I think that this game. I mean, the name itself is so strange and stupid that it would put me off. Like if there was like, we just got this game in called Ruff and Tumble, do you want to buy it? I'd be like, no. I want nothing to do with a game named that.
I don't think the game name's that bad, but to me, and of course my faux pas from last week, this sounds like a game where you should have 2 people playing at once.
Well, to me it sounds like a puzzle game where you've got 2 people, like we talked about Head Over Heels last week or something like that. Like this, the type of game that this is and the title just don't match at all.
Well, they could have done better. I mean, again, to me, it sounds, when you have an in there, that tells me there's another guy. Unless it's like run and gun, and even that had multiple players. That was a basketball game, right? So to me, it sounds like something that would have multiple people in it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of, like I said, the level variety. The levels are well done, but the variety of what's going on in the levels is not. I mean, they add some certain elements, but it's not like, let's say, I hate to go down this road. It's not like, say, a Mario or something. There's really amazing differences in the levels. I mean, they're well done. They're pretty clever. There's one level on it's the second to last stage where you just show up and all you do is just collect there's no enemies at all. You just collect gold and stuff. That's the whole level. Which I thought that's not even a level. That's sort of a cheat. When they put that in, so that's kind of, and I'm not going to hold it against them. It's kind of weird, maybe there was like, let's get something in here. But I mean, I didn't think the game felt cheap, which a lot of those games do. Having the ability to scroll down, I mean, having the scrolling on this for a game like this is the best.
Yeah.
This is the best.
And in a game,
it's everything.
And in a game like this, that's 99% of the game is being able to see where you're going and what you need to shoot at. And
for once, you've got a character that's not real huge, and so shooting rats and these little ankle biters isn't super tough, which is nice. This game was received very well, actually. See You Amiga gave it a 92. Hey, Amiga Joker, I know you're begging. 91%, and they certified it Amiga Joker Mega Hit.
Wow, I think that's the first game we've ever had that was an Amiga Joker Mega Hit.
I've never heard of that either until I read this. It got an 89 from Amiga Computing, Amiga Format 88, so a lot between 91 and 87.
Pretty good.
That's as good as you're going to get. But of course, also this was 94. So they were probably like, "Holy crap!
Yeah.
Thank you, sweet Lord, for this gift that came down upon us." I looked this thing up on the old eBay, and break out the checkbook, yo! It ain't coming cheap. Again, this game, I'm guessing, probably didn't sell that many copies, and so you have inflated prices. There's a guy in Canada selling this for 102 American dollar bills, or best offer. I would not offer that much, but hey, there's a dude in Germany selling it for 85, and that's straight up money. That's U.S. And the discs in France, you're paying somewhere between 22 and 33 bucks for the discs.
Wow.
So that's a lot of money.
Very desirable title.
Let me rephrase it. Someone wants you to pay that. Whether you choose to pay it or not is your business. But overall, a good title. It's not perfect, but it's very well done. I like a game where they show a lot of polish.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing this shows is there's a lot of polish. Someone sat down and thought about it. They didn't just spew collectibles all over the screen and just randomly make levels up, which that goes a long way with me.
Yeah. All right, well, as we wrap up the show, I'd just like to remind everyone that you can follow Amigos on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the Google+.
Yes.
And don't forget, if you are hanging out on your own or hanging out with your family and you want to get away from your family on Friday night, you can tune in and watch Amigos live in the YouTube chat, just like Pishbot and Walking the Cow and Henrik Henderson and just a whole ton of people are hanging out. Duncan Styles. What else? There's tons of people in the chat with us right now. So thank you so much for Chris Hasifa. Thank you for hanging out with us. Pixels at Dawn. We really appreciate it. Join the party. And before we go, of course, we got to thank our Patreon supporters that make all this stuff happen.
They've been burning up the chat this week, by the way.
Yeah, and so I've got kind of a new idea that what we're going to do. We're going to play a little game with the Patreon song. Okay, so what the game is you've got to guess the Patreon song.
Oh man,
okay,
this is gonna go down hard.
So I am going to play the song, and then you're going to guess it. And if you would like to submit an answer, you can email. Get this is the important bit. John@amigospodcast.com. That will go straight to me. And make sure to include your favorite Amigos episode. And that has something to do with the prize that you will receive. And also include your mailing address, as in your physical mailing address, like the place where I can send something to, because that is part of your prize.
Very good.
So, again, John@amigospodcast.com.
That's Boat's maiden name.
Yes. All right. So, there we go. Get the retro roulette wheel out of the way.
What is that?
All right. Donald Tyler, Level Lord, John Matthew Perrone, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy CTZ, the Slow Norris, Stefan Sagan Mortensen, Edvin Ellen Blindo 75, Christopher Hussall, Rabbi Abbott, Chris Foltz, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vedke, Brent Dowdy, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, C. Brian Jones, Gary Hucker, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Mann, Will Williams, Adam Patterson, Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, King Tommy, Homberstadt, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Jason Warnes, Pixels of
Jeez, that was a long one. We're going to start. You're going to cover like Stairway to Heaven or something to get all these names in. To get any more.
All right. So if you think you know the answer, again, John at amigospodcast.com. I will choose a winner randomly. So if you're listening to this after the fact, as long as you listen to it before next week's episode, we'll say the cutoff will be next. You got to send it in before midnight on Wednesday night next week.
Midnight where? Here?
Yeah.
All right.
Wherever here is for you, that's where it is.
Eastern time.
So next Wednesday, the 21st at midnight Eastern time is the cutoff to win the special. And I'll announce what the prize is next week. I need the first one before we can get the ball rolling. So, All right, Aaron. Next week we have a game chosen already. Another Amigos game selection member podcast person has already boy, that was a lot of words.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Gamo's game selection committee member on Patreon has chosen for us. We will play next week Typhoon Thompson.
I have no idea what that is. I've never heard of it. Is that a person?
It's a person, it's a place, it's a thing, and an idea.
Wow. Should be the best game ever.
It should be. All right, guys, we will see you then. Until next time, adios.